Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly O'Horo, and this is Adaptable Behavior Explained. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today to Adaptable Behavior Explained. I'm your host, Kelly O'Horo, and today we're going to talk about secure attachment. I did an episode on all of the 4 attachment styles, and I got a lot of feedback that people wanted me to drill into the more specifics of each attachment style. And so ask and ye shall receive. I created this show so that I could help people better understand why one behaves the way that they do, especially the things that are shaped by our early relationships. And of course, today, when we're going to talk about secure attachment, you may not hear as much about this because one, it's a little less common. We don't pay attention to things that don't create issues, but it's just as important to understand secure attachment. And ideally, we would all want to eventually get to the space of being securely attached. So if you've ever wondered what a healthy connection looks like, then this episode about secure attachment is really the one you want to pay attention to as far as the goal and the objective of what we want to all strive for. Those who didn't grow up with secure attachment don't have the option to become securely attached in their adult relationships. And we're going to address in all 4 episodes that about attachment specifically, what happens in our childhood that creates some of the patterns of attachment as we mature and what shows up in our relationships. So with secure attachment, it's like the foundation of healthy relationships. This happens and is built when a child is consistently experiencing safety, parents who are responsive, they show up, and there's emotional attunement from the caregivers. This is where someone, cries and the mama or the daddy goes over and says, "What's going on, sweetie? Are you okay? What can I do?" People with secure attachment tend to have beliefs that are really healthy and strong and don't shape or don't shift so much in the presence of stimulus that could challenge this. So a few different beliefs that we would establish if we're securely attached are things like I'm worthy of love, I can trust, others can be trusted. It's safe to express my needs, my wants, my desires. And someone with secure attachment doesn't have a lot of issue with expressing those things. And they feel as if they're going to be met with somebody who will respond in a healthy way to them. And if they don't, it's not personal. So someone with secure attachment will feel a lot more comfortable with closeness and connection and being intimate, but as well as being comfortable with independence. I can be by myself. I can opt out of the event because I need some time to just recharge my batteries and I don't feel FOMO. I don't have to necessarily be part of everything. Someone with secure attachment also has an ability to regulate their emotions. And so when they're in distress, they can take a beat and they can recognize what it is that's going on inside of them, and they can allow emotions to come and go and be more fluid, and then they can do things more readily to cope with the change in emotions in order to regulate those things. The other thing that happens more easily for someone with secure attachment is that when there's conflict, which all relationships have conflict, they'll have constructive tension opportunities, but someone with secure attachment has a much easier time resolving conflict. They don't avoid going toward the person to say, "Hey, there's this thing that's going on and I'm not okay with how we handled that, or I think we can do better, or I didn't do very well in that situation and I'd like to make some amends or repair with you." And they're also more willing to take someone's their feedback about whatever has happened and apology, and they're more willing to forgive and to let go. They can take something that's been said to them at face value and say, they said it was all right and they're sorry for whatever it is they did, and things can be resolved and they don't necessarily need to be held on to. It's a lot easier for someone with secure attachment to trust people. They don't have the same propensities to have ongoing fear of abandonment or rejection. And they're not constantly worried about how they're perceived in the eyes of others because of that fear of rejection. They're kind of able to stand a little bit more ground and take up more space because they kind of come with the thought, not everybody is going to like me, and that's okay. I can be safe if not everybody does. I may not be everybody's flavor, but I must be me to be congruent with my values. Someone with secure attachment also has an easier time to communicate in healthy ways. They can express their need for boundaries, limits, what's okay and not okay with them. And so secure attachment isn't perfection by any means, but it's a sign of resilience. It's the ability to navigate connection and disconnection without losing your sense of self in the process, meaning there's more internal locus of control and less reliance upon the external world to make sure that I feel okay with myself in this world. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how secure attachment will shape relationships, because our attachment style very much impacts and affects the people that we are in relationship with. These are all kinds of relationships, not just romantic relationships, from friends to family to employer situations. So, securely attached people tend to form relationships that feel safe. They are reciprocal. There's a I give to you, you give back to me. It's not one way. I'm not constantly the caretaker, the giver, but people offer and give back to me, and they're mutually emotionally nourishing. And so there's not as much one-sidedness in relationships with securely attached individuals. And part of why that happens is because there are some key factors that make it attractive and to feel better and safer to be in relationship with someone who's securely attached. And one of those traits is that they are emotionally available. They can share feelings, they can talk about emotions, and they can receive feelings without being blown out of their own window of tolerance for emotion and other people's distress. And so we want to be in relationship with people that can go deeper. They have a better ability, like I said before, to resolve conflict. And so when there are moments of disconnection or conflict, or like I mentioned, constructive tension, there's an easier ability to repair ruptures without it turning into a big fight or unnecessary escalation. In a securely attached relationship, there's flexibility. I can be comfortable with our intimacy. I can be comfortable with some disconnection and autonomy. These are those people that can have friends where you say, I haven't talked to them in 6 months or even a year, but we pop back into connection and it's like no time has passed. This is evidence of a securely attached relationship. I don't need to hear from you all the time to know that you matter to me and that I matter to you. I can be aware of what's going on in your life and recognize that that isn't personal. And so the flexibility and comfortability with the disconnection without it meaning anything dire about the relationship is a sign of a secure attachment. The other piece that I think most people really want in a relationship is someone who can be empathetic. This is really our ability to feel with somebody, to attune to others without losing our sense of self awareness. This isn't when someone's crying, you're crying with them because of your own sadness, because of your own loss. It's crying with them because you have compassion and empathy toward what they're going through. And you're pulling something from inside of you that says, I really know how you feel because I've been there. And that's really true empathy. Some common relationship dynamics that happen with someone in a securely attached relationship is that there's open communication. Again, your expression of needs and boundaries are clear and it's not taken personally. It's an easier, more ebb and flow with trust and reliability. People feel more safe relying on you and you feel safe relying on them. And it's not so dependent on, like the weather, things that are happening in life. And more so, there's a healthy independence. Each person maintains their own identity, their own sense of what I'm doing in the world is independent and autonomous from you, and what you're doing is autonomous from me. And when we can make time, we can come together and we can have, a recognition that healthy independence is really celebrated in a securely attached relationship. And of course, there's always going to be ruptures in relationships, and the ability to repair after those ruptures is a key component of a securely attached relationship. Disagreements don't necessarily threaten the relationship, and one doesn't find themselves spinning into the place of this is over. I can't be, in relationship with them. I can't be friends with them. I can't be married to them. It doesn't go to this doom and gloom place so quickly. Secure attachment creates this sense of emotional home. It's a place where people can grow and change and rest and be quiet and feel seen. So, how do we get this secure attachment style of connection? And this is really rooted in our early childhood. Secure attachment typically develops really in the first few years of life, like between the ages of 0 and 3. we kind of have a good understanding about if a child is going to become securely attached because the brain and the nervous system are rapidly forming during those years. And if we have highly attuned, emotionally present parents, or at least one parent who's like that, children have a much better opportunity to become securely attached. And their experience really is developed because they've had consistent responsiveness. Their caregivers respond to distress with comfort and attunement. They don't get so upset because of their own distress when a child needs them, that they can be present and grounded. And when children are upset, up till like the age of 6 months, they can't regulate themselves. They need a co regulator in a parent or a caregiver. And so, if a parent can't do that, the child is in distress. And so, to have secure attachment, we need a really grounded sense of attunement and comfort by our caregiver. There's a consistent sense of emotional safety. The child will feel seen, soothed, supported, like they're a priority, like they matter. And this, again, helps to develop the neural pathways that contribute to a securely attached sense of self. Another key factor, and this is why all the parenting books and parenting podcasts that you hear about talk about consistency, because predictability and routines help a child create a sense of security. The predictability of emotional presence, of structure, of what a child can expect in their environment help to create a sense of stability. And so those things keep the nervous system more balanced. And so those are reasons why, we talk about those needs being important for children, because we want the best opportunity at developing a securely attached sense of self. Now, something that most parents know about is encouraging of exploration, of trying new things. And the caregiver can be a secure enough base for the child to go explore the world and come back for a sense of comfort, and then go explore new things and come back. And so when a parent can offer that, a child will feel trust that their needs will be met. They'll feel safe when they express their emotions, as if their experience matters to the caregiver. And as a result, they develop a sense of self-worth and ultimately confidence. And that confidence is really the foundation for the secure attachment. So let me give you an example. And I talked a little bit about it, but if a baby cries and a caregiver picks up the baby and soothes them, stays present, over time, the baby learns, I matter, I'm safe, I can trust. And this early relational, blueprint becomes the foundation of the adult attachment relationships. It's the learning. And so it's really critical, especially those first 0 to 3 to 5 years in the establishment of the personality of attachment for the child. Now, fear not if you were not fortunate enough to be raised in a home where this was your outcome. It's not too late, because attachment style is not fixed. It could be molded, it can change based on the environment that you're involved with. So, what I'm going to talk about next is called earned secure attachment. And this is really special and wonderful. So, if you are not part of that first group and you long for it, then keep your ears up now, because most people don't grow up with secure attachment and the histories that lean toward being able to have that. And it doesn't mean that it's out of reach. So, earned secure attachment is this process of developing a secure relational pattern later in life, often through therapy, through healing relationships where someone shows up consistently for you and starts to build neural pathways that are different than the ones that you developed as a child. And then, of course, none of this can happen without intentional self work. We have to have insight. We have to realize these are our patterns, and we have to be willing to look into that and explore that. So, people with earned secure attachment might have experienced childhood trauma, neglect, or inconsistent caregiving. They might have had anxious, avoidant, or disorganized attachment patterns before. They might have had emotional dysregulation or relational instability, difficulty trusting. But through the healing, they begin to recognize, they name those old patterns, and they start to build relationships that feel safe and, most importantly, reciprocal. They learn to regulate their emotions, they learn to express their needs, and they learn to develop trust in themselves and in others, which looks so different in a relationship. If you were someone who couldn't trust others and you become someone who can, everything changes in your life when you can have trusting relationships. So, some examples that can, help you think about a healing experience is if you're, for example, as a therapist, right? If I show up consistently and I'm empathetic and I'm really well attuned for the client, they begin to feel safe and express their vulnerabilities and their needs. And I always tell my clients, borrow it from me until you have enough courage and bravery to practice with people out there in the real world, because you're building pathways that say, hey, I think I can do this. I can learn this. And so a therapist is part of a great way to build some connection and attachment and new neural pathways related to trust. But you can also have a partner who responds to emotional needs with warmth or consistency, which slowly reshapes a person's internal model of connection. They start to build a new truth compared to the truth they had or established from their childhood. A person can learn to start setting boundaries and honor their own needs. They can build self trust with practice, and ultimately, it turns into their own emotional resilience. Earned secure attachment is a testament to the neuroplasticity in our brains and how critical it is to be in relationship and to have relational healing. We can rewire our attachment systems with connection, and it's never really too late. And so it's really special that we have the opportunity to dig in and change the way that we relate with others. So, secure and earned secure attachment can show up in adult relationships, and it looks like stability, openness, trust, emotional security, emotional maturity. It can change to sound more like I'm not panicked. When I'm in disconnection, I can trust that my partner needs space and that it's not dire. When I'm emotionally overwhelmed, I can recognize that I have a need and I can reach out to my partner and I can say, can we talk? Or something's bothering me. Can we iron this out? And there's more internal sense of safety that it could turn out okay now, even though as a child it didn't. The ability to repair from conflict happens much easier. We can apologize. We can take accountability for our empathic failures. We can listen and be more patient and less impulsive, and ultimately work through issues where we're not seeing eye to eye. And we can develop the ability to respect boundaries and understand that both closeness and autonomy are essential and critical to a healthy relationship. We can build our emotional regulation and stay grounded during our stress or our disagreements when we develop a secure attachment style through the mutual respect and consistency of our relationship. And so we can have different opportunities to see what this looks like. For example, like if, maybe I used to be upset or anxious when my partner would be too busy or didn't have time or attention to pay to me and ultimately unavailable. And I can develop the ability to trust the relationship and not spiral into a fear space or ultimately withdrawal because I'm afraid that I can't trust it, and recognize that that person, might check in later, but don't go to that default mode of abandonment. So this is something that can be really satisfying and ultimately settle us down in relationships when we can earn this over time. And behaviors of this can look like an earned trust in self, in others, and ultimately the process of connection. And so when we are able to be in safe relational connection, we are able to have more joy. Secure attachment allows us to be adaptable. It allows us to bend and not break and be in connection without losing ourselves. And it gives us a lot more space to celebrate emotional safety and notice when I feel calm and connected and seen. And it gives us space to practice our vulnerability and share our truths, even when it's risky or it feels like it could be risky. It gives us room to honor our needs, know what they are, express those in a relationship, and honor our boundaries and our emotional life. It can feel like it matters to the people in our relationship. But ultimately, all things are better enjoyed in connection with someone else. We can enjoy a sunrise or a sunset sitting there if we are securely connected to ourselves and really find joy in that. But there's just nothing better than being in that same sunset or sunrise with someone that you love or care about. That reciprocal nourishing is so very special. And really, all things great are better enjoyed with someone that we love or that we trust. And so, whether you grew up with a secure attachment or working on earning it now, or seeing this episode and deciding this is something I want to really go toward and work on, you are capable of deep, meaningful connection. We are hardwired for connection. It's how our species is built. And you can have that if you're willing to put in some of the work. So, just in kind of closing, secure attachment, it's built through consistent, attuned caregiving. And it creates emotional resilience, trust, healthy relationships. And if we didn't get it as a child, we can earn it through healing, therapy, safe connection, and relationships, and insight, and being willing to look at our history. But your past is your past. It's not your healing. And so I want you to think about it right now and reflect. What does a secure connection feel like in your body if you have that? And think about where there were relationships that do help you feel safe or seen or supported. And just take that in for a moment and decide, if you didn't have that as a child, if that's something you want to work towards gaining. So thank you so much for tuning in. This is such a special topic. It's really the foundation of everything in our relationships and our level of confidence and ultimately success. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel, leave a review, share it with someone who might need to hear this. Please chime in on social media. I do read all of my comments and check out comments through my website if needed. But check out the show notes. And if you want an overview of all of the attachment style, I have a show earlier in season 1 that really is just a broad umbrella of all of the attachment styles. So again, thank you for tuning in. Understanding your story is the very first step towards healing. So congratulations on digging in and listening today. So until we meet again, don't forget to lead with love. It'll never steer you wrong.